Welcome to the Vanessa Eriksson podcast. I'm Vanessa, your host, and I'm here to bring you conversations on data, AI, innovation and leadership with influential leaders. My guest today is Niklas Sundberg, a seasoned IT leader with over 20 years of experience driving large-scale digital and AI transformations across IT, customer experience, finance, and operations. As the Chief Digital and Information Officer at Kuehne+Nagel, he is leading efforts to make the company the most trusted and sustainable supply chain partner. Niklas is also a passionate advocate for sustainable technology, an author of the highly regarded Sustainable IT Playbook for Technology Leaders, and serves on the board of Sustainable IT Org. At the time of this recording, we knew that Niklas and the team at Kuehne+Nagel were nominated for the Responsible AI Award. We're happy to share his excitement and wish all of them congratulations as they won the award. Tune in and listen to all that Niklas has to say. Welcome. Okay. Welcome, Niklas, and welcome to all of you. Such a joy to have you, and thank you for doing this. I have so many questions to ask you, both about Sustainable IT Org organization, your work on the board, but also Kuehne+Nagel. So, welcome. Would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Vanessa. Very happy to be here. So I'm Niklas Sundberg. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Kuehne+Nagel. I've been here almost for 2 years now, leading the digital transformation and our AI agenda. I'm also on the board of Sustainable IT, which is a non-profit organization which is focused on promoting sustainable IT practices, both from an environmental, social, and governance perspective. I also wrote a book a couple of years back, which is called Sustainable IT Playbook for Technology Leaders. And I'm also now working on my second edition with an updated chapters on AI and the impact of both the opportunities, but also sort of the challenges.
That is really, that is a lot that you're involved with.
Yes.
and I
have 2 small kids at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've led a lot of digital transformations, IT, finance, customer experience, and you're using data and IT to bring a lot of good.
Yeah.
When you're working with the whole digital transformations, what's the first thing that you actually focus on?
I think in any transformation, it's all about people, so to say. I think we're coming into a day and age where I'm not so worried about technology. I think we see that sometimes the technology agenda can move much faster than we can do as people to bring people along on the journey. So I think, and especially with AI as well, we see that the data is maybe 20% of the foundation to be able to get started, to get that baseline in place. AI and the digital is maybe 10%, and then 70% is really about the change management.
Yes.
And I think also you have to recognize that patience, so to say, because sometimes it can take a year and a half when the technology is ready, but then it comes back to when do people trust the technology? When do people actually put enough faith in what has been developed, what is being put out there, and willing to change their mindset, so to say.
Yeah. So, and you're spot on. I love that, because I'm thinking the people aspect is the harder one.
Yes.
Because you're probably going to get cultural pushback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you face this because you're talking about it.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, do you have any, for all our audiences here, do you have any successful, tactics that have worked for you?
I think the important thing is obviously that you have to explain why you're doing this, what is the purpose of this, and that everybody understands, the why. Then we can focus on the what and the how, so to say. It's also extremely important to have champions all across the organization, all the way from the CEO down to the executive management team, to the line management and so forth, that everybody understands this And when things get a little rocky, then we stay firm on what's been agreed and what's been delivered, because I think also you have to be very mindful that the change and the culture aspects of digital transformation takes much longer than putting a system or a technology in production.
Yeah.
It's more about the adoption, the usage, what is the benefits, the outcomes of this change.
Yeah.
And I think it's important not to maybe jump too quickly to the success stories and be a bit mindful in terms of when do we actually see that this is bearing fruit and that we get the right business outcomes.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that these smaller success stories, evangelizing that also would help the movement, the motivation in the company.
Yes. Yeah, it's extremely important also to, if we take our cloud transformation, for example, we created something that we call the Blue Academy, Blue Cloud Academy, where we also offer all of the professionals within the IT organization to do upskilling, to teach new technology, also get opportunity to certify themselves and so forth. So it's important to also bring the aspects in terms of what's in it for me as an individual. What will I get as the benefits? Because I think everybody is always a bit reluctant to change. How does that impact myself? But if you also then can show that this is going to be a great benefit for me, both maybe as my employability within Kuehne+Nagel to advance to my next role, but also on the job market, so to say. So at the moment in our cloud transformation, for example, we in the first year, we're into our second year now, and in the first year we educated about 300 people in new cloud technology, and the milestone that we've set is roughly around 1,100 people to educate on this new technology. So
that's impressive. Yeah.
Yes. But we're also a big company and with high ambitions. So,
yeah, wonderful. I'm just thinking, I hear a leader speak. What does true digital leadership look like in a legacy company, like Kuehne+Nagel?
Yeah, that's. I think that was one of the key aspects why I was brought in, so to say, to change the muscle memory of the organization. How do you change the fundamental DNA? Because if you think about it, Kuehne+Nagel is a very proud company. It's been around since 1890. Yeah. Logistics is all about reliability. It's all about what you do every day to have a very transactional moment, because we deliver on customer promise. So to have that strategic foresight, to have the ability to also set a direction of travel that spans maybe longer than a quarter, longer than 18 months, 3 years, but also, like you said, bring the quick wins along the way, so to say, because nobody's gonna buy into the journey if you deliver the quick wins in 18 months. So bite-sized deliverables are important. Yeah. But then I think also once you come to these big foundational moments, especially around AI, because I think everybody's talking about the importance of data and so forth. And Kuehne+Nagel has been very, very strategic in repositioning data as a strategic asset, both for internal use, but also for our customers. So the vision that we have is that regardless how our customers want to use the data, our ship and store, for example, a data product that we are offering to our customers, they can either consume it through a web portal for everyday use, or they can also use it to automate their own internal processes, so to say. So I think it's really, really important to also translate, what does this mean for our customers? What is the problem that we're trying to solve for our customers? Because if we only start with the technology rather than starting with the customer problem, then I think we will fall short on the customer promise. Maybe something to add as well, just in terms of changing the DNA of the company as well, because I think you have to be a bit bold as a leader as well and stick your neck out, so to say. And something that I pushed the executive management team in was also that we have a lot of great technology. We need to bridge the gap between the sales organization and our customers to start utilizing the products and services that we have and that we can offer already today. So something that we are going to do in September of this year is going to host a tech summit, our first customer tech summit for our customers in Amsterdam, over a 2-day period, where we're going to have both external speakers, someone like Mo Gaudet come in, which is an evangelist in AI and ex-Googler. He's written the book Crazy Smart and Software Happy. But also internal speaker like our CEO, our head of sea freight. We will also paint sort of the vision for what we think about our digital transformation within logistics, because we also want to reposition ourselves from maybe in the past our customers perceive us being a follower rather than a leader in the space. So I think it's important also to do that repositioning and be a bit bold, because it also involves so many different functions within the company. It's not only IT, it's marketing, it's sales, it's communications, and so many other functions as well. So to really put that stake in the ground, get that executive leadership, and I'm sure post the Tech Summit in September, I think we will also see how the company and the perception of technology, IT as an enabler will also have changed forever within Kuehne+Nagel.
Wonderful. Something that I take from this is what you said, stick your neck out. Because I think as a leader, there's no getting out of that.
No.
But still, there's a lot of leaders that can just tide over and just never do that. But that's another episode, and I'll come back to that. Yes. But congratulations, Kuehne+Nagel, because you are nominated for the Responsible AI Impacts Award. Yes. By Sustainable IT Org. Yeah. So congratulations, that is a huge achievement. Well done. I think, yes, you're going next week for the award. And I think whether you win it or no, it's, immaterial. Just that you're nominated and showing that you're actually on this part is brilliant. So, but you've created an AI policy.
Yes.
With 9 principles. When creating this policy, what's the lessons learned that you could share with the audience where, they could go back and maybe perhaps start?
Yeah. No, but I think, first of all, it's not a straight line. I think it was a bit curvy to get to this. One of the first things when I came in was that there was going to be a Gen AI policy in place, which basically banned all large language models on the market, except if it was approved by Kuehne+Nagel, which I think, it's like toothpaste. Once the toothpaste is out of the bottle, there's no way to put it back, so to say. And I think it's the same thing with AI. The genie is out of the bottle. You have to control it, and you have to manage it, so to say, in a responsible way. So what we did was actually we reshaped this Gen AI policy, which was very, very restrictive. We had a lot of complaints from all over the business. This was early on coming in. And we said, let's make this a wider one. We also had the EU AI Act coming into force. And we said, let's align to the Responsible AI Act, because also logistics falls under sort of the high risk category of risk within that framework. Yeah. So we also worked very closely with legal and compliance to set up a responsible AI policy that sort of is very closely aligned to the EU AI Act. And we are primarily a global company, but our home base is Europe, obviously. So we felt it was important to align to that. And the important thing also is that the policy shouldn't slow us down. No. So we also, at the back end of the policy, formed a AI governance board, which sits under the overall risk board that reports up to the chairman's committee and the oversight committee. And in order to construct that momentum with the organization, we also created an AI opportunity radar, which looks at what can we do in the CX area, what can we do in the back office, finance, HR, IT, and legal, and many, many other functions. What can we actually, and the third quarter is what can we do within our core capabilities, which is our transport management system, our vendor management, warehouse management systems, and so forth. And then the fourth quarter in terms of what are the products and services that we can actually build on top of this. But in order to qualify to actually get into the quadrant and show that we are looking at this as an idea, or we are adopting it, we're running a POC, or we actually have it in production, you actually have to do a risk assessment. So that sort of drives that momentum that, because the worst thing that can happen is that you develop something for 9, 12 months and then you want to deploy it into production. and then you realize that you have to backtrack another 3-6 months because you didn't do the right compliance, you didn't look for bias, you didn't check for a human in the loop, whatever that might be, so to say. So I think we established a process where we do the risk assessment very early on. In all honesty as well, I think we also have stayed away from like the high risk use cases, because and when I say high risk, that would be AI controlling railways, it would be controlling ports, autonomous vehicles and so forth. I think there it's better to rely on some partners that are very, very focused on that specific use case or that specific segment than trying to build that themselves, because I think that the compliance cost would be an overburden in terms of what the returns would be. So I think it's also important to find like the right balance in terms of what are the use cases you attack, what is the ones that will bring us good strategic value, and which are the ones that are high risk and maybe we stay away. Another one in terms of high risk is also avatars is something that we have been experimenting with. I think it works great for training material. I think it works great for some repetitive material that we want to produce for 40 languages at the same time, because it becomes very costly in terms of production cost. But also we're also seeing, not within Kuehne+Nagel, but we've seen some very poor examples where maybe you deliver a layoff message with an avatar. I think that's quite unpersonal and not fit for purpose, so to say. I think also you have to be mindful of the cyber security threats that also comes with those avatars, and we've seen those threats emerging as well, where avatars are targeting executives for payments or redirecting of funds and so forth.
So my question would be then, because I clearly hear that you're working with both the risk assessment and also cybersecurity.
Yep.
Because if you're trying to work with responsible AI, I mean, like I said, I'm a judge in the responsible AI category for the automotive industry, which is also, ethics and compliance are non-negotiable.
Yep.
I can hear that Kuehne+Nagel have a similar kind of setup.
Yes.
It's a lot of things there that are non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But how do you actually enforce it? Because doing the risk is yes, a very foundational part to help the organization. Is there any other things that you do to make sure that the company is on the same page with responsible AI?
So last June, the executive management team approved our AI strategy, which is roughly a document of 60 pages that outlines our strategy in terms of where are we going, what are the areas in terms of use cases, what data do we need, what change do we need in the organization, how do we deploy the technology, and then finally, how do we scale and adopt this? And in order to sort of make the message quite simple and quite consumable for 80,000 employees, we sort of stuck to a 3P principle. So we say that we have principle first, so to say, in terms of responsible AI. We are problem first and also people first. So people, principle, and problem. And I think the important thing of this is to stress as well, and I think this is a very key takeaway for leaders as well, that you see every second day that there's a new large language model emerging on the market, and you have a CEO with high expectations in terms of what is next, what is coming, how can I unlock the 4.4 trillion that the Gen AI is sort of promising from McKinsey and so forth. How do we accelerate and how do we get into the game, so to say? And I think here it's also important to have that foresight to also focus on what is the problem that we're trying to solve, because there's a lot of different technologies that can actually solve that problem, and Gen AI might not be the right problem.
No.
AI pricing that we're doing internally to optimize for different trade lanes, optimize on market demands, buying patterns and so forth. You don't really need Gen AI technology for that. It's more about machine learning and finding sort of that. But then for other examples, correcting master data, Gen AI is absolutely fantastic. We've seen that both from visual inspection of text, but also now with the latest large language models where obviously logistics is extremely document intensive to process documents at a much higher rate, much higher accuracy, and what we've seen in the past. So with traditional OCR scanning, we've seen an accuracy of 65-70%. And 10 years ago, we were extremely happy with that. But now we actually see with the latest technology, we can get up to the high 90s in terms of accuracy in any language. And this we have already applied for all of our expense management system, for example. So we process roughly 100,000 receipts per month for people traveling and doing their expenses. And now this is highly automated, so to say. And at the back end, there's an OCR scanning powered by Gen AI that is doing this for us. And then now we are really looking to scale this up across all of the document functions that requires this, which is extremely heavy in our industry.
So you've shared a few of your use cases,
Yes.
But I'm wondering, where is at Kuehne+Nagel, where is AI being used more? Is it for the forecasting mostly, or for automated, processing?
I think we in sort of the vision that we have within Kuehne+Nagel, we say that we want to automate as much as possible. That's sort of the pillar number one. The second one, like you said, the demand forecasting and so forth, is around the decision-making power, both for internally, but also to give our customers better decision-making material based on our data. And that's also coming back to the data platform that we built, that our customers should be able to consume the same data that we have internally as well through simple APIs and so forth. And the third one is around products and services, and how can we use Gen AI to deploy new products and services? How can we interact more with our customers, for example? One extremely interesting field, and I will come back to some more use cases, but one very interesting field is obviously human-assisted agentic AI. We are in a business where we are commuting heavily with our customers on a daily basis. Just when it comes to messaging, last year we had 1.5 billion messages going through our platform in terms of messages between customers and ourselves. But coming back to digital transformation, this is growing by 30% per year. So this year we will surpass 2 billion. We will have roughly 500 million API calls, and we will have probably on our Internet of Things platform, roughly we have 10 million events per day. I think fast forward 5 years, we'll probably have 100 million events per day. So I think that the opportunity for automation, not only within Kuehne+Nagel, but doing this together with our customers. So we automate together, we drive operational efficiency together, because I think that's really when you drive out the benefit together. So I'm really pro working with our customers jointly, also in sort of a fail fast approach to make sure that we try something out and see if it works or it doesn't work. I think also from a customer experience, if we deploy a human-assisted agentic AI, and then our poor customer has to work with an assisted voice, calling them up and giving them answers in terms of where's my shipment, where's the disruption and so forth. I'm not sure that that's a great customer experience.
No.
I would rather say that we work together with our customers and that we find like what is the optimal machine-to-machine interaction that works in that relationship. Because I think in the end, in 5 years, there will be a lot more machine-to-machine interactions that can be much more smarter. It can have reasoning capabilities. And then I would rather have an approach where we do it together with our customers rather than creating something that's bring great operational efficiency for us, but provides a very poor customer experience for our customers. So I think here it's extremely important to be very mindful in terms of what is the optimal solution for that. Again, it's not about the technology, it's more about how do we do the ways of working, how do we jointly change the ways of working together.
I'm looking at the book on the table. You wrote the playbook on sustainable IT. AI demands a lot of power and compute.
Yes.
So what's your advice then to tech leaders, when you're looking at working with it responsibly?
And this is the big challenge, because when I wrote the book, this was it was published in October of 2023.
Yeah.
And this was just one and a half months before ChatGPT became sort of the next new kid on the block, so to say. And I touched on it in the book that we see obviously that the energy consumption in the world is going to be astronomical going forward. Just looking at some data points, in 2020, I think that the world energy resources was roughly around 25,000 terawatt hours per year in terms of consumption. And out of that, data centers 1 to 2% of that energy use. And that's about the same as the whole global aviation industry. So we talk a lot about flight shame in Sweden and so forth, but we don't talk about streaming shame and so forth. So, and obviously, like with AI, it's extremely energy intense. And new data points actually suggest that by the end of this decade, we already have some countries in Europe that already have 25% of their consumption of energy, like Ireland, is attributed to data centers today. When the new administration came in the US, for example, they also declared an energy crisis in January. And numbers also point to that in the US, by the end of this decade, data centers will consume more than 25% of the energy in the US. The second element to that is obviously water consumption. So I think in Europe, we have a wealth of water, we have a wealth of resources to be able to manage that. But in the US, water consumption is a big challenge, so to say. We also already seen some of the manufactured lakes in the US. The Colorado River was dried out almost a couple of years ago, and the water was lowered by roughly 20 meters. And just pointing towards some of the data points in terms of the build-out of AI as well, you see that some of the tech giants, unfortunately, they made very big and bold promises a few years back in terms of they're going to be net neutral by 2030. Yep. Amazon's going to be net neutral by 2040. But then if you look into their latest sustainability reports, the numbers are actually pointing in the wrong direction. So they are increasing by 40% since the baseline, or 48%. If you look at water consumption for Microsoft, for example, in the last 2 years, they have increased by 14 million cubic meters of water. And just to put that in perspective, that's the same amount of water that Reykjavik, the city of Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland, is consuming in 1 year for all of their inhabitants. So it's becoming a big challenge in terms of both the energy resources and the water resources. So I think here it's important to find new ways to build out digital infrastructure. Yeah. I think here we are in Sweden today, for example. I think it's a missed opportunity here in Scandinavia per se, where we have access to 98% renewable energy. We could be thinking in more systemic ways of managing this, because if you only put requirements on a data center to be built somewhere in Eskilstuna or Västerås or Staffanstorp, for example, in Skåne, and you don't put requirements in terms of how you're going to reuse the water, how you're going to reuse the energy, so to say. Unless you don't do that, then it's just wasted energy, both from water and energy perspective. But there are some very good examples already in Östersund, for example, with a company that's a data center company that has paired together with the utility provider and then also a green tech provider. So they get 100% renewable energy. They have the piping in the data center, which also is focused on both channeling back all of the energy, channeling back all of the water, and then all of the excess heat can be then deployed into a greenhouse. Mm-hmm. So their vision in Östersund is that they're going to crop roughly 25% of the tomatoes that we need in Sweden, that we actually import today from Netherlands. So I think this is what I mean by like the systemic systems, where I think we have a missed opportunity in Sweden, where we have a lot of good building blocks, but we don't have people in decisive power to actually make the right requirements when we actually have data centers, companies coming in and want to build in Sweden or in Scandinavia for that matter. So I think if we can be a lot more specific around this, I think it's both a great business opportunity to build out our digital infrastructure, because I think we should be proud of what we have built, and we have good access to broadband and so forth, very quick turnaround times for broadband to Frankfurt and other strategic locations in the world, but also the opportunity to be at the forefront of sustainable IT. So I think here is a bit of a missed opportunity, and I hope that our politicians will wake up a little bit and think a little bit about how we can be a bit more systemic in terms of how we build out our digital infrastructure.
That sounds like you're really helping them, see solutions to the problem.
Yep.
So I'm really hoping Almedalen is happening soon.
Yes.
Yes. So
absolutely.
Fingers crossed that somebody is listening and doing something about it.
Yes.
But then, do you think CIOs should be responsible for or accountable for all the today when nothing is being done? I mean, responsible when you're thinking about working with responsibly with AI. Should CIOs be responsible for the carbon footprint, for example?
I think it's a complex question. I think it's important to establish your baseline to understand what is the target areas that you can do. Last week, I had opportunity to speak in front of IT management team in a Finnish manufacturing company, and they made a promise to me that they will do their baseline, and they will show me. I will come back in 1 year's time, and they will show me how you can drive it down, so to say. Because I think the good thing also is that if you set AI aside as one of those problem areas, I also outline in my book in terms of how you can actually create your baseline as a CIO, how you can look at different vectors in terms of your footprint, in terms of your data centers, your cloud, how you manage your hardware, how you manage your providers in procurement and so forth. So, and every company will look different in terms of how that baseline will look like. And then the true value is really when you start looking at what are the 3 to 4 key action areas to dig into and focus on. But to be honest, it's not that hard to drive down the carbon footprint if you know what you're doing, so to say. And that's what I really try to pragmatically outline in my book in terms of how, once you have established a baseline, you can really drive it down by 2x, 3x quite easily. And
I think you should lift the book up again, just for all our viewers and listeners. So,
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I think that what you're describing is so useful, so needed. So I really think that a lot more people should be investing in the book. Yeah. Because sorry, Niklas, I cut you off, but I'm thinking sustainable IT, that's been a hard one, right? Because you don't hear leaders talking about sustainable IT.
No. But I think it differs as well. And I think also, for me, resilience is a key topic within sustainability as well, because cybersecurity is on everybody's top of mind. Yeah. And building a resilient company that can manage through crisis, if it's, it could be wildfire, it can be water, flooding, or it could be a cyber attack. And I think also that is also sort of packed into ESG in terms of how we manage those risks. And I think also now, which is something that I definitely firmly believe this is not only a CIO question, I think this is also an owner question. And this is, how do we actually build sustainable infrastructure in Europe? Yeah. We have a new administration in the United States, and how do we manage that going forward? Because 5 years ago, everybody was going into the cloud, and we were trusting the big cloud giants. I think the conversation has changed a little bit in terms of how do you build that resilient digital infrastructure. I'm not saying it's an either or, I think it's a combination, but I think also coming out of post-COVID, I think there's a lot of different questions that sort of surfaced, that it's not only about digital infrastructure, but also how do we secure our medical supply chains? How do we make sure that hospitals have the right equipment along the way in terms of a crisis and so forth. So I think there's a lot of things that came out of COVID that really taught us about that just in time is maybe not only the right solutions when it comes to supply chain, but also having a more resilient supply chain, and not just a just in time. Because I think when we see there's a demand squeeze, we see there's a chokehold somewhere, even a ship in Suez Canal can take out the whole global supply chain, and we've seen what happens in that case. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of things that goes into sustainability these days that maybe were not on the agenda a few years ago, or maybe not is termed as sustainability. So for me, cybersecurity is just as important. The social aspects is also extremely important as well. So I think it's being dealt with, but maybe not always under the umbrella of sustainable IT.
Got it. You work on the board of Sustainable IT org. Is there a message that you'd like to give tech leaders and help them on their journey?
Well, I think the key thing is to get started, to get yourself educated, to understand, what is the problem, why is this something that's a challenge? Because I think now, when I wrote the book 3 years ago, it was not really in the mainstream media, but now you see that Bloomberg is picking it up, Wall Street Journal. There's a lot of prominent journalists that have been writing a lot of articles about the energy usage within AI and so forth. So I think we all have a responsibility as technology leaders to at least understand what is the baseline, how do we do something about the baseline, and what are the key action areas to do that. So understand why this is important, understand what you can do, and then how you can do it. I think that's extremely important.
A fun question now. What's one myth about digital transformation that you would like to kill?
Well, I think the myth is definitely about the technology, so to say, that we always underestimate the effort in people. Through my many years in this field now, I've seen a budget for an implementation of a digital transformation. This is how much it's going to cost, and then maybe 5% is change management. But I think it's if you actually factored in the actual cost of change management, I think most digital transformation would not be approved. So I think that's probably the biggest myth, that it's all about digital and tech. But I think that the change management is heavily underestimated, and there's a lot of hidden cost that doesn't go into it.
Thank you. My last question, in your 20-year journey, what in the leadership has made you change your views on innovation?
Well, I think it's important to be mindful of change. I say quite often that people that use AI will not be replaced by AI, but AI will replace by people that don't. So I think it's important to be extremely curious. I think it's important to also admit when you're wrong. Because like we said, leaders need to stick their neck out. They need to set that direction of travel. But I think also it's important also to admit when you're wrong and say, well, we tried this didn't work, and let's pivot and do something else. Rather than trying to stick it under the carpet and try to backtrack on your mistakes. I think it's more important to be an honest leader. I think empathy is extremely important. And then my background as a professional ice hockey player, and this is really 20 years back. This is back in 2002. So I think also the importance of team, so to say. Understand what your strengths are, and then understand what is your weaknesses, and how do you build that team together. I think that's important as well, to understand what you are good at and what you should be delegating, or where you should need right people on your peer level or in teams to be able to drive that forward. And if everybody understands the vision, everybody understands the direction of travel, I think that's really the powerful, so to say. And it's very hard to describe what that is, but it's really this buzz, so to say. You can feel it in the air when you're driving it, but it's very hard to describe what that is. What is that momentum? How do you see a team that goes into the Champions League final in football, and you just know that they're going to win? So to say, it's that intangible buzz, so to say, which I think is extremely important in terms of leadership.
Thank you, and thank you. This was so insightful. I've learned so much. Thank you, Niklas, for joining, and thank you all of you for joining us. If you haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget and go in and like us too. Bye for now.